the Bonnie was the ultimate weapon. If you had a Bonnie, they all went, he's got a Bonnie, and that was it.
Rockers were a great British invention of the 50s. They lived for kicks and chicks, booze and bikes.
When you look at this bike, you've only just got to look at it. Even standing still, it looks as if it was doing 100 miles an hour.
Oh, look at there. Here she comes. Here comes that girl again. Wanted to meet her since I don't know when.
She's just beautiful, isn't she? I mean, look at her.
I can't keep still, so baby, let's dance. Well, the blue jean bar.
Rockers liked their movie stars, their music and their blue jeans in the American style. But when it came to bikes, it had to be British.
You're gonna say I'm a moody guy.
We all used to try and come past the Ace Cafe at 100 miles an hour. That was quite regular.
Don't think you're getting...
The press sensationalised their exploits with screaming headlines.
Pamela, Pamela, remember the day.
Wild Ones, Ton Up Boys, Cafe Racers. And the dream ride of every coffee bar cowboy was Triumph's big, bad Bonnie.
All the Flash boys had them, yeah. Yeah. I weren't jealous, I was just envious, you know what I mean?
Bonneville. The name reeks of excitement, speed and sex. But the story behind the name is rather less than romantic. A Bonnie is a Bonnie because it has two carburettors. That's it. Because Triumph have been building parallel twins with a single carburettor for over 20 years.
This is where our story really starts, the speed twin of the 1930s. Two cylinders, 500 cc's, 27 horsepower and 90 miles per hour. Here, for the first time, was a motorcycle that was fast, stylish and affordable. It is, quite simply, the most important bike ever built in Britain.
The post-war period produced a new breed of biker, rebellious youth with a need for speed. Stateside, Triumph's twin made quite a splash, but inevitably the Yanks were always wanting more. Bigger, better, faster.
The Speed Twin had become very successful in competition in America, and as things progressed, they knew it was their theme that cubic inches meant more power, and therefore the effort was put into increasing the capacity really on the existing design, and from that came first of all this one, the Thunderbird, and the Tiger 110 became the final result of the progress through the various models that were being made. And the Tiger 110 really should do 110 miles an hour as it stands here now.
Bonneville Salt Flats, Utah. It's 1956 and an American Triumph dealer wants more than 110 miles per hour. He wants the world record.
Despite its space-age styling, there was a surprising amount of standard Triumph motorcycle underneath this aluminium skin. The frame, forks, wheels, gearbox, even the 650cc engine with its twin carburettors. Johnny Allen clocked 214.4 miles per hour in this streamliner, but the world's governing body refused to recognise his record. Still, the Americans did, and that was all that mattered.
It still took Coventry 3 years to cash in and build a bold new Triumph twin with outrageous rock and roll styling and the promise of 120 miles per hour.
After just 12 months in production, the Bonnie saw quite a few changes for 1960. There were modifications to the carburettors and to the electrical system, and the single down-tube frame was replaced by a duplex. It got fork gators, and the decidedly 50s-looking nacelle that used to sit up here was replaced by separate instruments and a big chrome headlight. The Bonnie had arrived. It was fast, it was sexy, it was the perfect motorcycle for the swinging 60s.
And you can do what you want.
So it was inevitable that many Bonnies would end up at that cathedral of rocker culture, London's Ace Cafe, where the 60s swung to the raw-born beat of driving rock and roll, where lifelong friendships were formed and bitter rivalries settled with a mechanised duel they called a record race. The rules were simple. First, you stuck a sixpence in the jukebox. Second, you started your bike with as much style as you could muster. Then it was flat out to the crossroads and back again before the fade out.
Well, you were the business down here if you had a Bonneville. You'd race up and down an all circular with a lads, and there'd be the police chases. Many people used to say to me, I can't understand how you kept your licence so long. But what I used to do, I was a bit snidey. I used to take the number plate off the back of my bike, put a stick on one and go outside the shop and get Joe Blox's number, who happened to be passing the shop at the time, and put his number on my bike.
I got chased once by 2 speed twins and two police cars. And I didn't feel like stopping. And as I say, I left them. I went through Roundwood Park, straight through a football team, and I was touching 100 mile an hour up the side streets of Willesden. Unfortunately, I got banned for 2 years for that.
The rocker image was unashamedly masculine. The birds, the bikes, the black leathers. This was high-octane tackle.
If you see that picture of me in there wearing that hat, like the wild one, I'd just seen the wild one, and it was, you know, just fantastic to see. You could picture yourself up there, you know, and it's just great. See someone like who was a film star portraying what you are, you know. He's getting paid for it.
Back then, the biggest contender for the Bonneville's crown was BSA's Gold Star.
I used to ride a Rocket Gold Star before I bought a Bonneville. That was a nice bike. But the Bonneville had the edge on it.
Well, any twin, it had the acceleration, so it couldn't give the same performance outside the Ace, which the lads wanted. And it was like, when you see some of the early Triumph adverts, they used to show an advert of a Triumph and a couple out in the country having a picnic. That was the wrong market to appeal to. The boys at the Ace Cafe made the Bonneville what it was and what the Ace Cafe is today.
This Bonneville, predicted Edward Turner, Triumph's MD, will surely lead us to bankruptcy.
His philosophy was produce a motorcycle that was reliable, that was sound, and would respond to tuning. If you want to tune it, that's up to you. So the camshafts, all the other parts, including even racing plates, were provided by the factory, but he would not allow one to go down the line.
Britain's classic long-distance race on 2 wheels begins with a Le Mans-type start.
I was on development at Triumphs, and so of course it was a natural thing to ride the Triumphs. The Bonneville won the TT 24-hour races, won 8-hour races, it won 6-hour races. It was a very successful bike.
But this year, the winner is Percy Tate on a work-centred Triumph Bonneville number 52, and his partnership with Malcolm Uphill takes the trophy.
The Bonneville was a winner and ready for the toughest test.
That time is a record for the race.
The Isle of Man TT and a Bonneville ridden by Malcolm Uphill records the first 100-mile-an-hour lap by a production bike, and that was from a standing start.
Is Malcolm Uphill, Triumph. 7th there is Peter Butler, Bonneville. Uphill has been going like the wind, and here he is putting in the first ever 100-mile-an-hour lap.
It was really one of the first superbikes in that era. For some reason, but not through any special tuning or raising the footrest or exhaust systems, they were competitive against the competition.
It's a great win for Malcolm at a race average speed of 99.99 miles per hour. Well done, Malcolm Uphill. Well done the other Triumph boys.
For the boys at the Ace, romance was just as important as racing.
I wanna be.
If Dad would guarantee the HP, you could have a shiny new bonnet, a passport to pleasures of the flesh.
They'd all like to ride on the back of a bike, but of course, unfortunately, as you know, there's always a price to pay. There's no such thing as a free meal, you know. But they all knew, the girls all knew what was going on, and we had the railway carriages up here when the steam trains used to go past, and we'd use the railway carriages. The bloke in the signal cabin used to be one of our mates. He used to come over for a cup of tea.
So is it part of the attraction, the sort of guys that ride them? Is it a bad boy thing for most women?
What can I say? I'm married to one of them.
No.
It's the bikes.
It's the bike.
Well, I ask ya, what a way to treat a guy.
most exotic of all the Bonneville engined road burners was a homegrown hybrid with a name borrowed from myth and legend, the Triton.
The engines were great. The Triumph engines were a lot better, a lot more robust. That's why they took the Norton engine out, put the Triumph engine in. And you had a new bike on the market called a Triton, which you got the good handling and you got the reliability of the engine.
Riding a Triton is a lot like making love. When it's good, it's very, very good. When it's bad, it's still pretty damn wonderful.
Hold me now. A Dresden Triton by Dave Degens is a Savile Row suit in iron and steel, the very best in bespoke British biking.
When you build a Triton for a customer, you get to know them and you can actually build them slightly different. You know, one customer, you think, well, he doesn't really want to go as fast as it looks as it'll go, so you detune the engine slightly and you can just do them to suit the particular person. I've probably manufactured 800 or 900 Tritons in my life.
What was it like in those days, the days of the cafe racer?
Well, it was a better time. There wasn't the traffic, there wasn't the speed restrictions. We'd be racing, we'd go down the coast and you would hardly see any other vehicles at all. And I can remember going the wrong way round the roundabout just to get in front of the person I was racing and things like that. Even nowadays, there probably isn't a car that could outperform it.
Well, this will do approximately 145 miles an hour, which is obviously much more than they did when they were made in the 60s. But the way it delivers its power gives it speed out of corners, which is really incredible. Only last week I was on a track day at Snetterton and I overtook a 748 Ducati, so it doesn't hang about.
The success of the Triumph, especially as a reliable machine for everyday use all over the world, design is personally supervised by the managing director, Mr. Edward Turner. The closest attention is given to even the smallest detail, and every effort taken to ensure that Triumph owners the world over have their needs fully met in every way.
I understand Edward Turner went to Japan in the early 60s and came back to the Board of Motorcycle Manufacturers and said, we have nothing to fear from the Japanese, they're only producing scooters.
Twice Triumph had gambled big time with the Speed Twin and then the Bonneville, and twice they'd hit the jackpot. Here in '65 they had a 3-cylinder Bonnet and a real chance to stay ahead of the game, but they hesitated and it proved fatal.
Because Honda,
the more I see,
those Japanese scooter makers had gone and reinvented the motorcycle.
It wasn't until the CB750 was launched in this country or to the world that we realised, you know, we were really up against it. I mean, a 750 4-cylinder, electric start, indicators on it, didn't leak oil. I think then we were slow to realise that we had a big problem with the Japanese.
It was 1969. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and that other bloke were playing pitch and putt in the Sea of Tranquility when this gleaming rocket ship came roaring out of the east with the kind of looks and performance that sent aspiring astronauts into orbit. The CB was strictly space age, and up next to it, the poor old Bonnie looked pretty prehistoric. So in 1971, Triumph brought in rocket scientists to redesign a motorbike.
The main thing, to my mind, that ruined Triumph was they took our best-selling bike, the Bonneville, and brought out a new version, but no one could ride it to start with. They couldn't sit on it, the frame was too high. There were all sorts of things they did wrong. They brought out a totally new model that nobody wanted.
And the problem we had in assembly, I was the assembly manager then, was that you couldn't get the engine into the frame. They'd built the engine up on the Slade by putting the bottom part of the engine in, then the barrels, then the head, and it all fitted. But obviously in production, we've got seconds to fit the engine, and the engine's built as a complete unit and just swung in, and it wouldn't go in.
And the brakes weren't very good. They brought a new front brake out with a conical hub, the comical hub as we call it, and it just wasn't any good. It was a hopeless brake. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the brake we had previous.
The rocker covers had to be redesigned, and there was quite a bit of to-ing and fro-ing before we got a bike that we could actually produce.
All these things were bad, and of course once the Americans got them, who were our best customers, they just couldn't believe it. They couldn't understand why they'd ruined the Bonneville in this way.
You're out of touch, my baby, my old-fashioned baby.
In 1972, they lowered the frame on the all-in frame, so it's not too high. So I sit on it just right, my feet touch the ground. And this particular year was the first year they started with a 5-speed gearbox.
But even a 5-speed box, a disc brake and an increase in capacity to 750cc's couldn't make people buy the Bonneville. And why should they, when this one is slower than a 50s original? In September '73, the workforce learned that Triumph was to shut down, so they staged a sit-in lasting 18 months and a survival package was agreed. They went on building Bonnies for another 8 years, but dubious appeals to patriotism were surely a sign of desperation. Dragging the Bonneville reluctantly into the 80s were either little more than a cosmetic rehash or else just plain laughable. And in 1983, the gates were locked at Meriden for good. Still, the Bonnie wouldn't die. Les Harris picked up the pieces, but it was a brief swan song for this fading star of the 1960s.
I had an engineering company and we were subcontractors to the old Meriden company. And when it all collapsed, we bid for the name. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, and the person who did get it had to license it to us afterwards to carry on with the older machines. And we continued to build the Bonneville up until '89.
Why?
Oh, it's love of bikes, I suppose, love of the Bonneville. Cost me a fortune.
I want to be your lover.
Today, the flashiest, fastest and most definitely the sexiest bike you can buy is still a big twin. The sort of bike that would appeal to those Bonneville boys from way back then. But it ain't no Triumph.
Classic Bonneville looks, classic Bonneville sound, brand new Kawasaki. Pretty ironic, eh? Those cashing in on nostalgia for the glory days of British biking are the ones who killed it off in the first place. But now the Bonnie is back, reborn with the look, sound and spirit of the 60s. No longer the hottest sports bike money can buy, it'll still crack the ton and grind the foot pegs. Perfect for the bad old boys from the Ace Cafe.
That's like, look at the Triumphs these days, the brand new ones, you know. The guys that ride them nowadays, they're fantastic machines, they're beautifully made. But they're worlds apart to us. They'll come down in their beautiful leathers and all flashy colours and their full-face helmets, you know. And I look at them and they don't know what I'm thinking, but it's a bloody good job, isn't it?
So near, yet so far away.
Back for a new series, Top Gear returns to BBC Two this Thursday at 8:30.